Hello Runescapers, welcome back to another tutorial. This tutorial will be pathing your way around barricades. It will be very important and it will be very boring. If you understand what I'm going to explain in this tutorial, it will be very helpful to understand what we're gonna explain in the future. So bear with me and sit down, bring something to eat and watch this. And before we start, as usual, this is a big shout out to Ward Angel Jr. and Tank CWC. Tank has a YouTube channel, he has videos in Castle Wars and that guy is incredible. He has like literally PhD in Castle Wars at this point. And he has some tutorials in there. So guys, check it out because some of the stuff he explains in his tutorials I won't be explaining. So give it a watch. The link is in the description and there is a playlist for that, so enjoy it. And now let's get started. Alright, to begin this tutorial, we explained before that if there is a cade, you can't move through it, but you can move around it. And if you want to move, the first movement has to be either diagonal or like away from the cade. So like in this case, north or south. But if you're here, it's like east or west or diagonal. So for example, if I press there, I won't move, but if I press here, I can move. Second thing, which is more about like RuneScape mechanics itself, which is that if you run, you technically teleport between two tiles without registering on the tile between. So technically, if I'm running around here, I'm basically just teleporting between these two tiles with the running animation. Same thing with walking, you teleport between two tiles with the walking animation. And that is why you set like cades like that. So like if you keep running, it sets every two tile because that's how it works. And that also explains why if you go like odd numbers, or you run like odd numbers of tiles like 3, 5, 7, 9. Last two tiles you set a cade because in that case you technically run two tiles and then walk one tile. So you set up two cades in the last two tiles like that. Another thing I want to mention before getting like more into like barricades right now is that there's a path indicator in this game which has like a certain way of working. The path indicator technically works in a weird way, and if you play RuneScape for years, you might not even notice it, but basically it always prefer going west over anything else, and then east, and then south, and then north. That's why when you like tend the cade that's under you, go west unless there's an object to move you around. Same thing with fire making, or even like clicking objects. Let's say I want to go to this object, which is like right here. There's two ways to go there. It's either east or west, but you will always go west. No matter how many times you try it, you'll always go west as long as it's the closest option. Alright, now let's get into barricades pathing. So barricades don't really change your path, but they do. There's like a weird formula of how they change your path, so I'm gonna try to break it down like the easiest, simplest way. In normal cases, if I want to go from those two tiles, the path indicator will let me go this way, which is just like running those two tiles. Let's set the cade in here and check how this will change the path. So for some reason, when I try to walk from here to there, it doesn't let me walk like that or run like that. Instead, it makes me run here and then here, which takes 2 ticks instead of 1 tick. I don't know why that happens, doesn't make sense, but you just have to know it. And why is this interesting? Because if you go one tile behind and you do the same thing, which is going to this tile, boom, goes like that. Why? Because you run those two tiles and then you have one more tile to walk. So walking would be fine, but running, if you run like that, it won't be fine. I don't know why. Now, interestingly enough, if you walk those tiles, you will end up going like that. Yeah, exactly. if you walk, just walk, like you turn, you're running off and you just walk, you will go like that, even if you press here. But if you have your run on, you'll go like that. Now, second way, it changes your pathing. Let's say you're standing next to the barricade and you want to come here. You just move like that. But if you're one tile away from the barricade, there's one tile between you and the barricade, you will go like that. Which technically doesn't make sense because you're supposed to go like this. And then if you're 3 tiles away, you will run here and then here. So if I want to attack or burn this barricade right here, the pathfinding is simple. I'll just walk here and attack it. Or even burn it, doesn't matter, same thing. However, if you're standing here, so technically 2 tiles away and then 1 more, well technically 2 tiles away that if you're going diagonal, and 3 tiles if you're going like that, because there's this barricade in here, and you try to like tempt this gate, it will never work. Why? Alright, to demonstrate it easier, you can't tempt gates that are north or south of you. We explained that before. So you have to manually like move around them. And in this case, you're running here because there is this gate, and then the next step would be here. But since you can't send the gate from here because it's north of you, it won't work. Another example would be if you're trying to back in 2 gates that are diagonal and you go with this gate, because you are 2 tiles away, you should be going there in 1 tick so you could gate. But since this pathfinder is stupid, you will end up doing that and you'll get trapped. Another pathing thing is that you can actually attack or burn or explode this barricade from here. This is a weird concept that Tank explained in his tutorials. He explained it with L movement or the knight movement. Basically, whenever there's L shape and there's a gate like here and there's L shape, you can tend or remove that barricade or even attack it. So if I'm a huge L, I can still tend it. And the reason you can do that from here is because you have this L shape, or as he called the knight movement. And alright, now let's get into the movement of when you attack, tend, or even explode barricades. This will be very important because if you know the way you're going towards the barricades or where you will stop, you can predict your next movement without looking at your character. So you could do like more stuff faster instead of waiting to like check where your character will be. So if you're standing in those tiles next to the barricade, it's very simple. You won't move, you'll just stay in the same location. And if you are in those corners, so like 1 tile southeast, northwest, or something to the barricade, the pathfinder prefers going east or west over north and south. In those cases, you will move towards the gate without going north or south. To show that if I press this gate, I'll end up here. If I'm here, I'll end up here. Same thing if I'm standing right there. I'll end up here. No matter what you do. Why is this important? Because you could turn gate and then just back in the other one without having to move. How would you move towards the barricade? So there is 1 tile difference between you and the barricade. If you are anywhere on those 5 tiles, you would move right in this spot. So let's say I'm here, I'll move in this part. And same thing with the other side. If you're anywhere on those 5 tiles, you will move to this part, right here. However, in those 3 tiles, or these ones and these ones, if you attack, burn, or tend a gate, then you will just move next to it. And that part. And if you are 2 tiles away from a barricade. So there's 2 tiles difference between you and the barricade. It's the same concept. If you're on those 7 tiles, you will still move here, northern part of the cade. And if you're like in the southern part, you will also move to the same way as previously, but this time with the running, not walking. And in those 5 tiles, those ones starting here and ending here, and same thing with the other side, you will be either on the eastern side or the western side of the cade. So you'd end up like this. And now the question is, if you're outside, what would happen? Well, if you're outside those tiles, you will move inside one of the tiles inside here, and then you will move another step. So let's say if I'm attacking the cage from here, I will probably run here. That's one tick. And then since I know where I'm gonna move from this tile for the second tick, I'll be attacking the cage. So let's try it. And same thing with everything, even if you're like standing in here, you know now where you will stop. Let's say right there, you can tell where you're gonna stop at this point because you know how you move, you know your last steps. My last step was here, so I'm gonna be there. But let's say, for example, you're here and you want to tend this cade. What happens is you should be running 1 tick, 2 tick, and then this tends. But what actually happens is that you run here and then the Pathfinder will be like, oh, I should be moving here to tend this cade. But there's this cade, so let me move him 1 more step. And then, oh, I should be moving here since I'm here. And then you move here again. So it will look actually like that. You saw how I walked the last 2 tiles? That means I spent 3 ticks instead of 2 ticks to tend this cade. So to make it faster, you could just press here and then directly tend it. That will be 1 tick faster for you. Those small details are important in like big games and fast people and privates and so on. So a few examples of what we spoke about and how to get advantage of your movement would be, for example, setting Zamorak base. So instead of me just clicking here manually, setting a cade and then clicking here, we know now that if I press here, I'll be moving that way anyway. So I could just, for example, press here and then cade and boom, I'm done. I don't have to press that much. Let's say you're standing here and then suddenly an attacker appears here and you have this setup and you want to like backtend him ASAP so like he doesn't catch you. Since you know how to move around the cades now, you could technically just do things like press here and then just set up 2 cades, press here, tend this and then backtend all of those and then just tend that and so on. And you could do so many different variations, or you could take it simpler way. But this way, you just like, when you know how you're moving around cades, you can easily like predict your next move and your next cade and press less, waste less time. Now a question for you, why can we tend this cade from here? Well, because as Tank says, there's all shaped in here, so you could technically just tend it. What if we added cade in here? What will happen? Think about it before I give you the answer. Think. Alright, that's the answer. One last thing that is kind of funny for me, if you toggle your run off and you try to tend this cade while this setup is here, this will happen.